Good morning and welcome to Coffee with Alain. Got a special treat for you today on Book Saturday. We're going to be talking about books by Barry Eisler. Be sure to listen up for a special announcement later on in the program. I'm drinking out of my book mug this morning and just want to remind people how important it is to read. Read paper, read Kindle, listen to audiobooks. Just get out and read. Read for education, read for enjoyment. And if you're looking for some new books to enjoy, I'm going to recommend Barry Eisler. And Barry is a friend of mine, and this was his very first book, Rainfall, about the assassin John Rain. And it followed up with a couple more of the Rain titles. The second book, he had Hard Rain. Third book, Rainstorm, probably, one of my favorites because they introduced the character Dox, the sniper, who befriends John, and you see him go throughout more of the books. So, and Barry and I talked a little bit about sniping and so forth when he was creating that character. So those were some of the first books, and there were a few more with at least one or two more with Rain in the title, and then they started changing the titles because they got away from the Rain, even though his name was John Rain. Now, when you go to Amazon to look for these books, they're all under new titles now. When Barry left Putnam and went to Thomas & Mercer, which is owned by Amazon, they republished all of his older books, and they changed the titles of the Rain books. I forget the titles for all of them, but when you find them, and just read. It will say previously published as Rainfall, previously published as Rainstorm. Barry wasn't trying to pull the wool over anybody's eyes. He would just change. They changed the titles because if you remember yesterday when I was talking about the Self-Defense Essentials course that I'm creating, which will be on sale soon, it contains the Street Fighting Essentials DVD programs with a bunch of other stuff. Originally with Paladin Press, I wanted it to be called Self-Defense Essentials. Paladin, being the publisher, had the final say and called Street Fighting Essentials. Same way with Barry. Putnam had the final call and named these with the Rain, trying to do that series. Barry wanted to go back to the titles that he preferred, and he worked out at the deal with Thomas & Mercer. So when you find them now, it'll say previously published as those books. But Barry was going along writing a bunch of John Rain books. It's this half Japanese, half American assassin, well written. A lot of them take place in Asia and different countries, and Barry does his research. He has lived in Japan and different places, so he knows what he's doing when he's the research as far as locations. Barry is a former attorney. He is an attorney. He practiced law. Then he was with the CIA for a while before he started his career writing. So he brings a lot of that stuff to the table. But then he sort of switched gears a little bit, and he started writing some books about the Trevin brothers. And so you have Alex Trevin and Ben Trevin. And he wrote a couple stories about them. Again, different from the John Rain, but, good action-packed stories. Then he also did a couple books with the main character, Livia, Livia, Lone, Lone. And she's a real badass, too. And so you have, had a tormented upbringing, and now, she's a badass. And she has, law enforcement, but at times she wants to go a little more than law allows for certain types of crimes. And so that was a new character that he brought in these books. Again, action-packed, good stuff. One thing Barry's also known for is, they have a lot of action. They do have some sex scenes and love interests and stuff in them too. Sometimes it can be very violent. So just really good reads. So you have these three series. You have the John Rain series, you have the Trevin Brothers series, you have the Lone series, And then all of a sudden, he brings these characters together in some of the books. You know, you had the Killer Collective. I don't have this on the desk right now, but I have the Chaos Kind. But the Killer Collective and the Chaos Kind, they're bringing all these characters from those three series together. So they're all in the same universe and wind up meeting each other. And those books are just a lot of fun when you get everybody together. Barry has an interesting story about one of the reviews for the Killer Collective. So all of us authors have different reviews. My Street Fighting Essentials DVD set got a 1-star review once on Amazon, and the review was, "This is a DVD, not a book." Right. It said it was a DVD set. But anyway, these books with everybody combined, really fun. Barry is also branched out too. Here's a John Rain book that he wrote going way back to when John Rain started. So this is pre the first book, showing how he was younger and how he got into the assassin trade, which is an interesting look. He also wrote one of my favorites. You got Amok, because this focused just on Dox, the character, the sniper character. And so this was a fun read. But then he's also written a couple books have nothing to do with all those characters. You had The God's Eye View, which was an interesting read and enjoyable. And you have his newest book that I reviewed a little while ago, The System. And this has nothing to do with any of those other characters. This has more to do with today's political climate and so forth. And there were a couple parts of this book that I really enjoyed. If you remember a review of it, you know, there were 2 sections that just had me just, yes. And so a good look at today's political climate and system and some of the things that go on within that system. So if you're looking for fun, thrilling, exciting, interesting reads for pure enjoyment, but might make you think about something else here or there too, because he weaves some stuff in there that might get you thinking about things that are going on in the world, I highly recommend, Barry's books. I want to say good morning to a few people. Thad is here and said good morning. Appreciate you being here, Thad. Eric is here and said good morning. Good morning. Appreciate you being here, Eric. Greg said good morning. Thank you for being here, Greg. Dixon is here and said Barry needs to get with some Hollywood producers and see about getting his stories done as a movie or 3. What do you think? And I'm going to say good morning to Shelley. Thank you for being here, Shelley. Dixon, the first John Rain movie actually was, or the first John Rain book was made into a movie, and it was made in Japan, had a primarily Japanese cast, because the movie was, or the book was set in Japan. And so there was a movie based on his book, but there's been other deals going on, and Hollywood is crazy about if they're going to make these into a movie or a television series. So there has been stuff going on, and I hope it happens as well. I did see that first movie, and good movie as far as, I like the story. It's pretty much all is set in Japan. So Gary Oldman was the prominent American actor that was in it, and that's a pretty big name for an actor, so he was in it. But it was okay movie. I hope they do justice and do some more stuff. It would be awesome to have it as a series where they could make it longer and so forth. So we'll see. Maybe we'll ask Barry about that, because my big announcement, and the reason I talked about Barry's books today, Tuesday, not Friday when I normally try to have guests, but because next week is Thanksgiving and then we got Black Friday, we decided we're going to be Tuesday, the 25th, and it's going to be a little bit later because of Barry's schedule and being on a different time zone. We're going to go 2 hours later. It's going to be 10 o'clock Mountain Time, 9 o'clock Pacific Time on Tuesday, this coming Tuesday, just a couple days from now. Barry is going to be a guest on Coffee with Alain. We will talk about The System, obviously his newest book, and some of the political stuff, that why he wrote this right now. But we can also ask him about John Rain and where that's going to be going, and some of these other characters. Are we going to see them again? How are we going to see them? We can also ask him about what's going on with any television, movie deals, and anything else. You come on here live, you can ask him anything you want to ask about this stuff. So, Tuesday, 25th, 10 o'clock Mountain, 9 o'clock Pacific, be noon for you Eastern folks. Barry Eisler will be on Coffee with Alain. It's going to be a fun show, so show up then. Until then, make it a spectacular Saturday, and I'll be back to see you tomorrow.